Welcome back to the scientific writing class. You have watched the previous paper structure slides on the introduction and the methods. And now we will go into the results, discussion and conclusion sections. So you remember the IMRAD structure, this hourglass structure that I introduced already in the previous class, where you have this broad opening, you narrow it down in the method and results, and you broaden it up again in the discussion. And if you deviate from this structure, the reader can be frustrated. So now we are in the results section here, which I will explain in detail, as well as in the discussion. So the results section basically says what. So what were the findings? And here you state the main results in text, tables and figures. There's no judgment. You compare the results and you use statistics for support. And the question is, writing results is easy or not? Some students say, okay, I can only write my thesis or my paper once the results are all finished. I don't agree with it. I think you should start writing your results as soon as you have some. It really helps clarifying your thoughts. So what I've written here, even large parts of the results section can be drafted before you have actual results to put it in. So I really recommend to you that you start writing the results early. Actually, everything you can start in an early stage. You can start with your introduction right when you start writing your thesis or your paper. Especially the results, I find that many students wait until they have everything done, the last final results, the last final lab experiment or so. You don't need to wait for this. You can start writing at an early stage. So again, the difference between a story and a study is that a study, you can report methods and results, for example, in a report, but then the story is missing. We are aiming for the story. So simple reporting results of experiments and analysis seems obvious, but is not useful. This would be a study, not a story. So, and also it produces bulky collections of preliminary results, multi-page tables, dozens of complicated graphs. It's not what we want. Coming back to this, which I introduced you into the introduction already, this is what we want. We find and tell the story of our paper, of our research, and you strip down your results to the key points. So you remember you have the different sections of the paper and they kind of flow into each other. So if you have the complete story, you have the introduction with the literature review, methods, results, discussion, conclusion, and they are all woven together in one story. If you only have the study, then you only have the methods and results. The story is missing, but we're aiming for the story. So in terms of the content, the results section is the heart of your paper. That's where you present your data. It states what was found by the study. Do not interpret the results. This is coming then in the discussion. You present results in tables and or graphs, and we have lectures only on how you present these tables and graphs in a understandable and very illustrative way. You do not present the same information in both graph and table, and you often use subsections and headings. You can decide on a logical structure early on, how you would like to present your results. So there's different ways you can do this. Here are some practical tips. So again, this also depends on which journal you're working for. Like, for example, the Nature journal, the high impact journal, has very different expectations or guidelines compared to other more classical journals. So, but these possibilities you can think about what you want to decide on. So you decide main results first. This is the power position at the beginning. Or you can do the main result last, also in power position, but at the end. So you can, this is kind of the aha or the effect at the end then. Or you have a hybrid solution, work from basic to complex, but proceed with brief overview of main results. You can think about which structure you would like and which is feasible for your study. For example, this one here, main result first, might not be feasible for complex and synthetic results. Now we are moving down already into the discussion section. And you remember, the discussion now is opening up again. So the discussion section interprets your results. It means, what do your findings really mean? So you interpret the main results and answer your research question. So you go back to your introduction, to the end of your introduction where you formulated your research questions. It reports also the challenges and the limitations. It also relates to your previous literature or broader implications. So, for example, what have others found, but what have you found? What adds to this? Or how does it map and how does it add to the previous findings of others? And it also gives the outlook for future progress. So then again, especially this one here, you can see that you're already at the opened up channel of this funnel again. I find it often hard to write, to separate, or especially to separate between results and discussion. But if you follow the logical structure that I presented, it might be a help to separate exactly between how to report the results and how to report or how to write the discussion. The discussion is trying to weave together the objective, the background theory, and the results. This is where the interpretation and clarification of the results are presented, and it's connected to the wider literature and discussions, addresses and discusses any possible limitations to their work, and often includes suggestions for areas that be improved or further research that needs to be done. So you can see from the slides why I'm saying that the discussion section is probably the most difficult to write, because you're weaving everything together in this. So your research objectives, the background, and your results. This is a possible outline that might help you to write the discussion. So the paragraph 1, report brief and concise summary of the main findings. Paragraph 2, the most important results dissected and discussed more widely. What is unexpected, or did it support your hypothesis? Are there some methodological issues that need to be admitted? And so on. So paragraph M, you do the reporting in the chronological order. And then the last paragraph, bring all your results back together again. Is there a new and clear way forward? What are the obvious next steps you're opening up again? And at the end, the concluding remarks, good for long and complicated papers where the take-home message is easily lost. This is also when you have one discussion section and no separate conclusion section. Here's a list of things that you should not do. This is from the real experience that I had with writings that I get and edit. So things not to do. I start with never start downbeat, do not start with problems. For example, this is a sentence cut and paste from a paper or from a thesis. Our results are weak and we do not have enough data. I like this one because we never have enough data. So you have done this study, you have produced a lot of good work, so be positive about it. Then the other one is no over grandiose statements that are not directly supported by your data. Do not ramble on and on. For example, do not try to make connections between your results and every conceivable previous hypothesis. Just stay focused what you can actually say with your data. Do not extrapolate too far beyond your particular setup. Never present new data results analysis in the discussion. Never. Do not try to finish with a flourish. All of these are collections from the work that I'm usually getting from students to like master's theses or papers or so. So especially this one, never start downbeat. This is a common one because I don't know why it is, but it's the common one that I get, and I really try to encourage you to write positively about the work. If you do have a separate conclusion section, this is great because then you have a separate section where you can again summarize your main findings and the implications of the work, and this is good for long and complicated papers where the take-home message is easily lost. So again, to visualize what we are aiming for, we are moving down from the results, which is already focused, moving down and getting broader. So the breadth is shown here. And again, I showed you this in the beginning. We are aiming for the structure, that this well-balanced structure, that your introduction and your discussion has the same kind of opening so that the reader is satisfied. If the structure is not kept between the introduction, so the beginning, that's the opening, and the ending, then the reader will feel either cheated or he doesn't even get the story. Yeah, in the discussion section, you also have the chance to blow your horn. If your results are novel, resolve a long-standing dispute, challenge previous knowledge, if they do, you can really sell it like this and blow your horn. Some speculations is fine if stated as such. For example, here you can use these sentences for kind of framing and not of overselling your story. So, for example, it is likely that an alternative interpretation is that these data are suggested. So these are very cautious sentences, and you don't promise too much, but you indicate this interesting story. How can you blow your horn while not overselling? You find the selling points, but also identify limitations and uncertainties in your argument. A very good way is to present your work at lab meetings and conferences and embrace critical questions. Be open for critical questions and take them into your account. We do regular lab meetings in the teams here, where students have to present their work and they get critical feedback, which helps to get these boundaries and on your story. Here's some more information about the structure. The opening paragraph could be a summary of the key findings and message, and answer to your research question. Our results imply that. Then you go into the discussion related to your research objectives. As shown in the beginning, you have the very clear structure of objective 1, 2, 3. You report your challenges and limitations, the broader implication, and the future prospects. If you do not have a separate conclusion section, you have one paragraph at the end where you summarize and present the take-home message. Discussion style, some words about this. The flow is very important in the discussion section. Avoid superficial analysis that basically restates your results. This is a very common mistake I also see. And explain the reader what you think the results mean. So go beyond the results. Do not restate your results. As you can see, you see here in this picture, you need to go beyond this. And this is what I said before. The discussion is, I think, the most difficult section to write for this reason. Some further content you add in the limitations. Here's a chance, for example, if you have major issues in the sampling data methodology, you can really report it here. You can use words like our study also had some limitations. Future studies should address the limitations to our study. This is a typical sentence that you see in papers, because this is what we learn from the study and we want to give it to the rest of the world, basically. Finally, discussion and conclusion. Make sure the introduction matches your conclusion. It is a story, and the reader should be able to read the last paragraph of the introduction and the conclusion and not be surprised. So you have the beginning and the end, and it's all woven together in your story.